She returned from her solo wellness retreat, glowing, ready to tell me she wasn't sure about us anymore. I smiled and said I'd signed the divorce papers that morning. Her face went white when I added, "Say hi to Garrett for me." "Oh, and I bought his swim club yesterday. My name is Leonard Bishop. Leo to everyone who matters. I'm 52 years old, and until 3 weeks ago, I thought I had a pretty solid handle on my life. General manager of a manufacturing plant outside Detroit. Married 23 years to a woman I met at a community college art class. Father to 2 kids. Well, one adopted, one biological. At least, that's what I believed. The door opened at 3:47 in the afternoon. I wasn't supposed to be home. Caroline had texted me her flight was delayed, giving her an extra 4 hours. But I'd left work early. Call it intuition. Call it 23 years of reading the same person's patterns. I sat in my armchair, the one she always said clashed with the living room aesthetic, newspaper folded on my lap like some character from an old movie. She walked in pulling her suitcase, skin tanned in a way that didn't match the Arizona spa story. Her smile faltered when she saw me. Not guilt. Surprise. Like she'd rehearsed a different entrance. "Leo," Caroline said, setting her bag down slowly. "I didn't expect you home yet. Flight got delayed, you said. Thought I'd be here when you arrived." I kept my voice even, almost pleasant. 23 years teaches you how to control your tone. She moved to the kitchen, poured herself water from the filtered pitcher. Her hands were steady. Mine were too. That's what months of preparation does. It steadies you. "We need to talk," Caroline said finally, turning to face me. She leaned against the counter, arms crossed. The posture of someone about to deliver news they think will hurt you. "I've been doing a lot of thinking on this trip." "I bet you have." I stood, walked to the window. Our neighborhood looked the same as it always did. Quiet. Suburban. The kind of place where people mow their lawns on Saturday and wave to neighbors. The kind of place where you think betrayal happened somewhere else. "Leo, I'm not sure about us anymore." There it was. The line she'd probably practiced in the mirror at whatever hotel she'd actually stayed at. I turned to face her, and I smiled. Not a big smile. Just enough. "That's interesting," I said calmly, "because I signed the divorce papers earlier today. They'll be served tomorrow morning. Say hi to Garrett Phillips for me." The color drained from her face faster than I'd imagined it would. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. No sound came out. Just the look of someone whose entire script just got thrown out. "What?" The word came out as barely a whisper. "Garrett," I repeated, still smiling. "Your swim coach. The one you've been seeing for the past 14 months. The one you just spent 2 weeks with in Scottsdale. Not Arizona Wellness Resort territory, but Scottsdale. Different place entirely." Caroline's hand gripped the counter edge. "How did you?" "No." I finished for her. "That's a longer conversation. But here's the short version. I've known for a while. And unlike you, I don't make decisions based on feelings. I make them based on facts. Documentation. Evidence." I walked past her toward the study, where everything waited. The folders. The timeline. The proof that would dismantle whatever story she thought she could tell. "Your bags are already packed," I said over my shoulder. "Well, repacked. Everything you own is in storage unit 237 on Mitchell Road. Climate controlled. Paid through December. The keys on the hallway table." Behind me, I heard her breath hitch. Not crying yet. Still processing. Still trying to find the angle, the leverage, the way back into control. She wouldn't find it. I'd already removed every avenue 3 months ago. People always ask when you know. Like there's a specific moment when the switch flips and you go from trusting to suspecting. For me, it wasn't one moment. It was a pattern. A series of small things that added up to something impossible to ignore. It started about 16 months ago. Caroline joined the swim club, said she wanted to get back in shape, feel good about herself again. I supported it. Why wouldn't I? We'd been married long enough that I knew she needed her own things, her own space. I had the plan. She had her graphic design partnership with 2 other women. We had the kids. Life was full. Then the late nights started. Not at the office. At the pool. Extra laps, she'd say. "Garrett's helping me work on my technique." Garrett Phillips. 55 years old. Divorced 3 years prior. Head coach and facility director at the club. Former college swimmer. The kind of guy who still had the build at his age. The kind women noticed. I met him twice. Once at a club social event Caroline dragged me to. He was charming, professional, gave me a firm handshake, and talked about water resistance and stroke efficiency. The second time was at a parent-student swim meet where our daughter Lily was competing. He didn't know I was there. I watched him lean in close to Caroline, his hand resting on her lower back just a second too long. She laughed at something he said, touched his arm. That's when I started paying attention. I checked our credit card statements. Nothing obvious at first. Then I noticed a pattern. Charges at restaurants I'd never been to. Always on nights. She said she was working late at the design studio. A hotel in Ann Arbor. She told me she was at a design conference that weekend. I called the conference organizers. No record of her registration. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I did what I do best. I gathered data. I documented everything. Dates, times, locations, amounts. I created a spreadsheet, color-coded and cross-referenced. My plant runs on systems and processes. Turns out, so does building a divorce case. The real breakthrough came from our son Jordan. He's 18 now, adopted when he was 6 months old after Caroline and I spent 5 years trying to conceive. He's a good kid, smart, observant. He came to me one evening, phone in hand, face troubled. "Dad," Jordan said quietly, closing my study door behind him. "I need to show you something. It's about Mom." He handed me his phone. Text messages. Caroline's messages, synced to the family iPad he'd been using for homework. She'd forgotten to turn off the sync feature. The messages were someone saved as G in her contacts. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Doug's at the Jacksonville site until Friday. Last night was incredible. I've never felt this way with him. I think I'm falling for you. This is getting complicated." I read them all. Jordan stood there, arms crossed, looking older than 18, looking like a man who just lost something. "How long have you known?" I asked him, handing back the phone. "Couple months," Jordan said. "I wasn't sure if I should tell you. I kept hoping it would just stop." I pulled my son into a hug. "You did the right thing. Thank you." That night, I called my attorney. My attorney's name is Richard Kovacs. We'd worked together years ago when I bought out a former partner at the manufacturing plant. He didn't ask questions when I called him at 7 in the morning, just told me to come by his office at noon. "What are we looking at?" Richard asked, pouring coffee into 2 mugs with his firm's logo on them. I opened my laptop and showed him the spreadsheet. 16 months of documented evidence. Credit card charges, text messages Jordan had screenshotted, calendar inconsistencies. Richard scrolled through it all, his expression unchanged. "Lawyers have good poker faces. This is solid," he said finally. "But we need more. Text messages can be explained away. We need photographs, witnesses, something concrete that puts them together in a compromising situation. What do you suggest?" "Hire a private investigator," Richard said. "Someone who knows what they're doing. I have a guy, former police detective. Does this kind of work exclusively now. His name's Vincent Torres." I met Vincent 2 days later at a diner off a 94. He was in his late 50s, gray hair, the kind of face that blended into crowds. He ordered black coffee and listened while I laid out everything I knew. "Your wife's pattern is predictable," Vincent said, pulling out a small notebook. "That makes my job easier. When's her next trip?" I checked my phone. Caroline had mentioned something about a design conference in Chicago next weekend. 3 days, Thursday through Saturday. "Next Thursday," I said. "She's supposedly going to Chicago for work." "Supposedly," Vincent repeated, writing something down. "Give me the details. Hotel, conference name, everything she told you." I did. Vincent made notes, asked about Garrett Phillips, got his schedule from the swim club website. Then he leaned back and gave me a look I'd seen before on the plant floor when a supervisor knew something the worker didn't. "Mr. Bishop, I'll be straight with you. In 90% of these cases, what you think is happening is exactly what's happening. The other 10%, there's a reasonable explanation. Based on what you've shown me, we're not in the 10%. "I know," I said. "The question is, what do you want to do with the information once we have it?" I thought about Jordan's face when he showed me those messages. I thought about Lily, our 14-year-old daughter, who still believed her parents loved each other. I thought about 23 years of marriage, of building a life together, of all the moments that had felt real. Then I thought about Caroline laughing with Garrett Phillips, her hand on his arm, the way she'd looked at him like I hadn't existed. "I want documentation that will hold up in court," I said. "I want to make sure when this goes to divorce proceedings, There's no ambiguity about what happened. And I want to know if there's anything else I'm missing. Vincent nodded. I'll start surveillance tomorrow. You'll have photos within a week. He was wrong. I had them in 4 days. The photos arrived via encrypted email. Vincent had followed Caroline to what she called her Chicago conference. Except she never went to Chicago. She drove to Garrett Phillips's condo in Birmingham, a suburb about 30 minutes from our house. She arrived Thursday evening at 6:47 p.m., pulling into his garage. Vincent's photos showed her leaving the car, overnight bag in hand. Garrett greeting her at the door. An embrace. A kiss that wasn't friendly or casual. Then the lights going off in the living room, bedroom lights coming on. More photos from Friday morning. Caroline leaving through the front door in yoga pants and one of Garrett's sweatshirts. They went to breakfast together at a local cafe, sat on the same side of the booth, his arm around her shoulders. Saturday afternoon, they drove to a state park, walked the trails hand in hand. Vincent got a shot of them, stopped on an overlook, Garrett's hands on Caroline's waist, her head tilted back laughing. I looked at every photo 3 times. Not because I needed convincing, because I needed to be sure I felt nothing. No anger, no heartbreak, just cold, clear purpose. I forwarded everything to Richard. This is more than enough, he texted back. We can file whenever you're ready. But I wasn't ready yet. There was one more thing I needed to know. The DNA test kit arrived in a plain brown box. I'd ordered it online using my work email, had it shipped to the plant. The instructions were simple enough. Cheek swab, seal it in the provided envelope, mail it back. Results in 7 to 10 business days. I sat in my office at home, door locked, looking at the 2 kits. One for me, one for Lily. Jordan was adopted. We'd always been open about that with him. Caroline and I had tried for 5 years to conceive, went through fertility treatments, consultations, the works. Nothing took. We'd made peace with it, started the adoption process, and 6 months later Jordan came into our lives. Then, miraculously, 3 years after Jordan's adoption, Caroline got pregnant. The doctors called it spontaneous conception. Said it happened sometimes after adoption, like the pressure to conceive finally lifted and the body relaxed. We'd celebrated, called it our miracle baby. Lily was born healthy, beautiful, perfect. She had Caroline's eyes, Caroline's smile. Everyone said so. I never questioned it. Why would I? But now, looking at 14 years of memories through a different lens, things didn't add up. Lily was born in March. If I counted back 9 months, that put conception around June. June 14 years ago, right around the time Caroline had started working at the same fitness center where Garrett Phillips was teaching swim classes. Before we joined the country club, before I knew who he was. I found an old photo album last week while Caroline was out. Pictures from that summer. Caroline at a pool party, laughing, healthy, glowing. In the background, barely visible, a man who looked a lot like a younger Garrett Phillips. Could be coincidence. Could be paranoia. Could be me seeing patterns that weren't there. Or it could be the truth I'd been avoiding. I swabbed my cheek, sealed the envelope. Then I went to Lily's room. She was at school, wouldn't be home for another 3 hours. I found one of her hairbrushes, pulled several strands with roots still attached, placed them in the second kid's collection envelope. The hardest part was writing the return address. Once I mailed this, there was no taking it back. No one knowing what I was about to find out. But I'd built my life on facts, on data, on knowing the truth of things. I couldn't stop now. The results came back on a Tuesday. I was at the plant when the email arrived. I waited until lunch, drove to an empty parking lot, and opened the attachment on my phone. Probability of paternity, 0%. I sat there for 20 minutes, engine off, staring at those words. Lily wasn't mine. Biologically, she wasn't my daughter. 14 years of father-daughter dances, helping with homework, teaching her to ride a bike. None of it changed the fact that Caroline had lied to me from the moment she found out she was pregnant. My phone buzzed. Text from Jordan. Dad, are you okay? You've been gone a while. I looked at the message. Jordan, my son, not biologically, but in every way that mattered. The kid who'd come to me with evidence of his mother's affair. The kid who'd chosen loyalty over comfort. I texted back. I'm fine. Be home soon. Then I forwarded the DNA results to Richard with a single line. Add this to the file. Caroline hadn't just cheated on me now. She'd been lying for 14 years. And now she was going to find out what happens when you underestimate a patient man. The Lakeside Swim and Fitness Club had been struggling financially for 3 years. I knew this because I'd been researching it for the past 2 months. Membership was down, maintenance costs were up, and the owner, a man named Gerald Hutchins, was looking to retire. I called Gerald on a Tuesday morning. "Mr. Hutchins, my name is Leonard Bishop. I'm interested in discussing a potential acquisition of your facility." Gerald sounded surprised. "The club? It's not officially on the market yet. Everything's on the market for the right price," I said. "I'd like to meet. Discuss terms." We met that Friday at a coffee shop near the club. Gerald was in his late 60s, tired looking, the kind of exhaustion that comes from watching something you built slowly decline. "I'll be honest with you, Mr. Bishop," Gerald said. "The club needs significant investment. New equipment, facility upgrades, marketing. I just don't have it in me anymore." "I understand," I said. "What are you asking?" Gerald named a figure. It was reasonable, probably under market value. He wanted out more than he wanted maximum profit. "I can do that," I said. "Cash offer. 30-day close. But I have one condition." "What's that?" "I want complete control over staffing decisions. Immediately upon transfer of ownership." Gerald shrugged. "The place is yours. Do what you want with the staff." We shook hands. Richard drew up the purchase agreement within a week. I signed the papers on a Monday morning. By Monday afternoon, I owned the Lakeside Swim and Fitness Club, including Garrett Phillips's employment contract. I waited until Wednesday to visit the club as the new owner. I walked in at 10 a.m., right when I knew Garrett would be finishing his morning training session. He was in the pool area, standing on the deck with a clipboard, watching a teenager practice butterfly stroke. "Garrett Phillips," I said, walking up behind him. He turned, smiled a professional smile. Didn't recognize me at first. Why would he? We'd only met twice, briefly, years apart. "Can I help you?" Garrett asked. "I'm Leonard Bishop, the new owner. I wanted to introduce myself to the senior staff." His smile widened. He extended his hand. "Great to meet you, Mr. Bishop. Welcome aboard. I'm the aquatics director and head coach. Been here 11 years. I didn't shake his hand. I pulled a folder from under my arm and handed it to him instead. "This is your termination notice. Effective immediately. You're being dismissed for violation of club conduct policies and professional ethics standards." The smile vanished. "What? You can't just..." "I can," I said calmly. "I own the club now. Your contract has a morality clause. Section 14, subsection C. Engaging in relationships with club members that create conflicts of interest or damage the club's reputation. I have documented evidence of your relationship with a married club member. Multiple married members, actually." Garrett's face went pale. "I don't know what you're talking about." I opened the folder in his hands. Photos. Him and Caroline at his condo. Him and 2 other women I'd had Vincent investigate. All married. All club members. "These will be distributed to the membership board," I said, "along with a formal complaint to the Regional Swim Coaching Association. I believe they take professional conduct violations seriously." "This is because of Caroline," Garrett said, his voice dropping. "You're her husband." "I was her husband," I corrected. "Now I'm the man who owns your workplace. You have 30 minutes to clear out your office. Security will escort you out." I turned and walked away. Behind me, I heard him calling my name, but I didn't stop. I'd bought the club for exactly this moment. The look on his face when he realized he'd lost everything. Worth every penny. Caroline came home that evening at her usual time, 6:15. She'd been at the design studio, or so she said. I was in the kitchen, making dinner. Pasta, her favorite. Garlic bread in the oven. Red wine breathing on the counter. "Smells good," Caroline said, setting her bag down. She looked tired, or maybe guilty. Hard to tell the difference anymore. "Thought I'd make something nice," I said, stirring the sauce. "We should talk." She hesitated. "About what?" "Us. The future. Things that need to be said." Caroline poured herself a glass of wine, sat at the kitchen island. "Okay, I'm listening." "Not yet," I said. "After dinner. I want to do this right." We ate in near silence. Caroline picked at her food, drank more wine than usual. I kept the conversation light. Asked about her day, mentioned something funny Jordan had said. Normal. Domestic. The kind of evening we'd had 1,000 times before. After dinner, I cleared the plates and suggested we talk in the living room. Caroline followed, wine glass in hand, settling into the corner of the couch she always claimed. I sat across from her in my armchair and pulled out a manila folder. What's that? Caroline asked, eyeing the folder. Context, I said. Before we talk about us, I want to show you something. I opened the folder and handed her the first set of photos. Her and Garrett at his condo. Her face went white. Leo, I can explain. Not done yet, I said, handing her more photos. The restaurant, the state park, the overnight stays. Her hand shook. How did you get these? Private investigator. Vincent Torres. Very thorough. Very professional. I handed her the text message transcripts. She didn't read them, just stared at the pages like they might disappear if she looked long enough. This isn't what it looks like, Caroline whispered. It's exactly what it looks like, I said. But we're still not done. I handed her the DNA test results. She looked confused at first, didn't understand what she was reading. Then her eyes focused on the key line. Probability of paternity, 0%. Lily. Caroline's voice broke. You tested Lily? I did. She's not my daughter. Biologically. She's Garrett's. Caroline started crying. Real tears this time, not the performative kind. Leo, please. 14 years. I interrupted. You let me raise another man's child for 14 years. You let me believe she was mine. She is yours, Caroline said desperately. Biology doesn't matter. You're her father in every way that counts. That's true, I said. Just like Jordan is my son in every way that counts. But the difference is, I chose Jordan. You chose to lie to me about Lily. I pulled out the final document. Divorce papers. Signed by me. Ready for her signature. There's one more thing you should know, I said. I bought the swim club yesterday. And this morning, I fired Garrett Phillips. Caroline sat frozen on the couch, divorce papers in her lap, mascara running down her cheeks. She looked smaller somehow, like the truth had physically diminished her. Leo, please, she said, voice shaking. We can work through this. Counseling, therapy, whatever you need. I made a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk, I said calmly. This was a choice. Multiple choices. Over 14 years. Lily is your daughter, Caroline insisted, desperation creeping into her voice. She loves you. You're the only father she's ever known. And I love her, I said. That won't change. But you don't get to use our daughter as leverage. You made sure I'd love her, then betrayed both of us. Caroline stood, walked toward me. What about Jordan? What about our family? You're going to destroy everything over this. I'm not destroying anything, I said, stepping back. You did that. I'm just making sure everyone knows who's responsible. She grabbed my arm. Don't do this. Please. I'll end it with Garrett. I'll never see him again. I'll do whatever you want. You already ended it with Garrett, I said, pulling free. I made sure that when I fired him this morning. By now, he's probably figured out he's also being blackballed from every swim club in the state. I've got friends in the industry. Her face went pale. You're trying to ruin him. I'm making sure he faces consequences, I corrected. Same as you. The difference is his consequences are professional. Yours are personal. Caroline's phone buzzed. She looked at it, and I saw her expression change. Fear mixed with something else. Realization, maybe. That's him, isn't it? I asked. Garrett, wondering why you're not answering his calls. Why everything fell apart today. She didn't answer. Here's what happens now, I said. You sign those divorce papers tonight. Tomorrow, you move out. Your things are already in storage. I've been packing for weeks. What about the design business? Caroline asked. We're partners. Not anymore. I bought out your share 3 weeks ago. Check with your business partners. They'll confirm. I offered them better terms than you ever did. 30% ownership stake. They were happy to consolidate. Caroline stared at me. You've been planning this for months. Longer, I said. Since the day Jordan showed me your messages. I don't do anything halfway, Caroline. You should know that by now. She sank back onto the couch. What about the kids? Jordan knows everything. He's the one who brought me the evidence, remember? As for Lily, that's your job to explain. You're the one who lied to her for 14 years. She'll hate me. Probably, I said. But that's not my problem anymore. Caroline picked up the divorce papers with shaking hands. You've thought of everything, haven't you? I tried to, I said. Did I miss anything? She looked up at me. And for a moment, I saw the woman I'd married 23 years ago. Young, bright, full of possibilities. Then I blinked and saw who she'd become. A stranger who'd shared my bed while planning a different life. I never meant for it to go this far, Caroline whispered. Then you shouldn't have started, I said. She signed the papers. The next morning, Caroline's sister, Natalie, showed up at the house. I'd been expecting her. Caroline had probably called her last night, crying, spinning whatever version of events made her look like the victim. Natalie knocked hard on the door at 8 a.m. I answered in my work clothes, coffee in hand. Where is she? Natalie demanded, pushing past me into the house. Storage unit on Mitchell Road, I said calmly. She moved out last night. You threw her out her own house. My house, I corrected. It's in my name. Always has been. Check the deed if you don't believe me. Natalie spun to face me. She told me what you did. Firing Garrett. Humiliating her. Forcing her to sign papers under duress. Did she tell you about the affair? About lying to me for 14 years? About Lily's paternity? Natalie's anger faltered. She said you had trust issues. That you were controlling. I pulled out my phone, opened the folder Vincent had compiled. These are photos from the past 4 months. Your sister and Garrett Phillips. Multiple locations, multiple occasions. Here's the DNA test showing Lily isn't my biological daughter. Here are bank statements showing money she moved into accounts I didn't know about. I handed Natalie the phone. She scrolled through it all, her face changing as she read. She told me you were paranoid, Natalie said quietly. I was thorough, I said. There's a difference. Natalie handed back the phone. What happens now? She lives with the consequences of her choices. I move forward with mine. And the kids. Jordan's with me. He's 18, legally an adult, and he chose to stay. Lily is still deciding. She knows the truth now. Caroline told her last night. How did Lily take it? About as well as you'd expect when you find out your entire life is based on a lie. Natalie looked around the house, at the spaces where Caroline's things used to be. She really thought you'd never find out. Most cheaters do, I said. They think they're smarter than everyone else. More careful, better at hiding it. But everyone makes mistakes eventually. Do you hate her? Natalie asked. I thought about it. Genuinely considered the question. No, I said finally. I don't hate her. I just don't trust her, don't respect her, and don't want her in my life anymore. Hate requires more energy than she's worth. Natalie nodded slowly. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. If I'd known. You didn't know, I interrupted. Or you suspected. You've been covering for her for months, haven't you? The alibis, the excuses. She didn't deny it. That's fine, I said. Everyone makes choices. You chose your sister. I chose the truth. We'll both live with it. After Natalie left, I sat in the quiet house and realized something. For the first time in 16 months, I felt calm. Not happy. Not vindicated. Just calm. The chess match was over. I'd won. Not because I was smarter or better, but because I'd been patient. Because I'd documented everything, prepared for every contingency, and never let emotion override strategy. Jordan came downstairs, backpack over his shoulder. Heading to class. I asked. Yeah, you okay, Dad? I'm fine, I said. And I meant it. The week after Caroline moved out, I sat down at my desk and started writing. 10 letters. Each one sealed in a separate envelope. Each one addressed to my children for specific moments in their futures. The first letter was for Jordan, to be opened on his college graduation day. I wrote about loyalty, about the courage it took to bring me the truth, even when it hurt. I wrote about how blood doesn't make family, choices do. How he'd been my son from the moment we brought him home, and nothing would ever change that. The second letter was for Lily, for her 18th birthday. I wrote carefully, knowing she'd read it with the knowledge of her true paternity. I explained that I'd loved her from her first breath, that discovering she wasn't biologically mine hadn't changed a single thing about how I felt. That being a father was about showing up, not genetics. I wrote letters for their wedding days, for when they became parents themselves, for moments when they'd need perspective on what happened to our family. I wrote about forgiveness, not for Caroline's sake, but for theirs, about not letting bitterness poison their futures. Each letter was dated, notarized, and placed in a safety deposit box with instructions from my attorney to distribute them at the appropriate times. Jordan found me sealing the last envelope. What are you doing? He asked, leaning against the doorframe. Insurance, I said, making sure you and Lily know the full story, even years from now when memories fade. Jordan walked over, picked up one of the sealed envelopes addressed to him. Can I read it now? Not yet. Some things are meant for specific moments. He set it down carefully. Mom tried calling me today. 5th time this week. Did you answer? No, I'm not ready. Jordan sat in the chair across from my desk. Is that wrong? It's honest, I said. You'll talk to her when you're ready. Or maybe you won't. Either way, that's your choice to make. Lily answered. Jordan said. They talked for 2 hours last night. I could hear her crying through the wall. How is she? Confused. Angry. She keeps asking why Mom lied. I don't have a good answer. There isn't one, I said. Not one that makes it okay. Jordan nodded slowly. Dad, did you ever think about just forgiving her? Taking her back? I considered the question. For about 3 seconds. Then I remembered that forgiveness doesn't mean accepting ongoing betrayal. I can forgive her for being human and making mistakes. I can't forget 14 years of lies. Good, Jordan said. Because you deserve better. I looked at my son, this young man who'd chosen integrity over comfort, and felt something settle in my chest. Not happiness exactly. Something quieter. Peace, maybe. So do you, I said. 8 months later, I stood in the parking lot of Lakeside Swim and Fitness Club, watching contractors install the new sign. The facility had undergone major renovations, new equipment, fresh paint, updated locker rooms. Membership was up 30%. Jordan pulled into the lot in his used Honda, home from his first semester at Michigan State. He'd grown a beard, looked older somehow. Place looks good, Dad, he said, surveying the renovations. It's coming together. Want to see the new pool area? We walked through the facility. I introduced Jordan to the new aquatics director, a woman named Sarah Harrison with 15 years of coaching experience and impeccable references. She was professional, skilled, and had no interest in sleeping with married club members. You really turned this place around, Jordan said as we grabbed coffee in the club cafe. Needed something to focus on, I admitted. Keeping busy helped. How's Lily doing? Better. She's in therapy, working through everything. She talks to your mother now. Short conversations, but it's progress. And you? You talked to Mom. Through lawyers only. The divorce was finalized last month. Clean break, no alimony. She got a fair settlement and walked away. Jordan stirred his coffee. Heard Garrett moved to Arizona. Someone from the old club told me. Texas, actually. Took a job at a small gym in Austin. Teaches water aerobics to seniors. I smiled slightly. Quite a step down from head coach. Good, Jordan said. He deserved worse. We sat in comfortable silence, watching through the windows as swimmers did laps in the renovated pool. I've been thinking about what you said. Jordan finally spoke. About family being about choices, not biology. Yeah. I want to make it official. Legal name change. Jordan Bishop. No hyphen. No connection to her maiden name. Just Bishop. Your name. I felt my throat tighten. You sure? Never been more sure of anything. You're my dad. Only one I've ever needed. I reached across the table, gripped his shoulder. I'd be honored. Jordan smiled. Also, I'm bringing someone home for Christmas. Her name's Rachel. Met her in my economics class. Thought you should know. Looking forward to meeting her. As Jordan left to meet friends, I stayed in the cafe, watching the club's activity. Families swimming together, kids taking lessons, adults working out. Normal life continuing despite everything that had happened. My phone buzzed. Text from Lily. Dad, can we get dinner this week? Just us. I want to talk. I typed back. Absolutely. Pick the place. 3 dots appear then. Love you, Dad. Love you too, sweetheart. I looked at the message for a long moment, then put my phone away and walked back through the club. My business, my fresh start. Caroline had wanted space, wanted clarity, wanted to find herself in someone else's arms. She'd gotten clarity all right, just not the kind she expected. Me? I'd gotten something better. I'd gotten the truth. I'd gotten my dignity. I'd gotten my kids' respect. And I'd learned that sometimes the strongest thing a man can do isn't fight back with anger. It's plan carefully, document thoroughly, and let the truth speak for itself. As I locked up the club that evening, I realized I didn't think about Caroline anymore. Didn't wonder what she was doing, who she was with, whether she regretted her choices. I'd moved on. Completely. Finally. And that, more than anything else, felt like victory.